hear me back there? Yeah? Can you hear me back there? Yeah? You can hear me? Okay. Well, we're getting ready to get started, but before we do, I wanted to let you know that we have the pad back there for you to go back if you have questions, if you want them to be asked this evening. So if you have anything, you can ask yourself, raise your hand in a little while, when we get to that question. But if not, if you don't want to ask yourself, you'll go to the back and write it down on the tablet, and I'll go back and get it, and then we'll read it at that point. Thank you for coming. Good evening. If you want to start finding a place to sit, if you want to stand so you can run out, that's fine as well. My name is Shauna Myers. I'm the Osage County GOP Chair, and I'm very excited that you all came this evening. And I want to just confirm, can you hear me okay back there? Everybody can hear me? Okay. I'm actually going to start with the prayer and the pledge, so if you guys do not mind standing. I do not have a large flag. I apologize. But this is what I have this evening. So this is what we're going to be standing and looking towards. For the prayer, if Steve Talbert, if you mind coming up and leading us in the prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, Lord. We just ask you to be with us through this, Father. We just ask you, Father, to let us all have open minds, God, and Lord, let the truth come out. Lord, we just ask you to be with each and every one that's in attendance, and God, keep us safe through the weather that's coming in tonight, Father. We just ask you to be with us in Jesus' name.
And for our prayer, if you don't mind coming and leading us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
have going on in the county. This had originally started out as just the town hall, but was worried that it was going to look one-sided, so we wanted to make sure and invite people to come and see things. So right now, we have Mike Fisher, our DA here in Osage County, and then I also invited Eddie Virden, our sheriff. I do not see him. Okay, Bud Beeston, and Robin Slack.
I'm here representing all three.
Oh, here, I'll represent. Okay. Well, if you would like to give a message for why they are not here tonight, and then we're going to go ahead and proceed.
My name is Gary Upton. Gary Upton, Undersheriff Osage County. I represent the three candidates on my side of this issue here, and I've come with all the information that we need to go ahead and speak on this issue tonight. Do I just go ahead and get started?
No, I just wanted to know why they were not here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Did you say why they were not here?
They chose me to represent.
They did not show this evening, so we're still going to go ahead and proceed with everything. And is it okay if we have Harriet here this evening? And, okay.
Might be too loud.
Is there a good here? Is that any better? Yes. It is better. How about that? Does that seem like that's better, or is it loud enough? Okay. Well, before we get started, I actually want to address something that we had issues with on our Osage County website. It's an incident involving Emily Delosier. She's our current district committee member. She's a former chair here in Osage County, and she's actually running for the court clerk. The comments that she made on the Osage County GOP website, it's inaccurate, it's vile, it's actually disgusting, absolutely unacceptable. It's inaccurate, and I'm asking for her to apologize for what has happened and the statements that she made, because we need to act better than what she just did. I'm trying to be careful, sorry, but I'm very disappointed, and I do hope that you do apologize and mean that. I really would appreciate that. Okay, so several of you here tonight, you contacted me. You're concerned about what's going on in the county. You're talking about things at church, at commissioners' meetings, your gas stations. This is a hot topic that's going around the county all over. But gas stations and the newspapers, Facebook has been terrible for all of this that's going on. But the reason I wanted this here tonight is that we can all get together in one place and address everything that's going on. So if you have any questions, and move forward. Well, again tonight, the agenda tonight was to talk about the county issues, corruption, accusations, and to clear up any questions that you might have about the annex, the Kennedy building, and anything like that. I feel like it's important that we address these matters openly and constructively, and ensure that we have discussions that we want to make sure that everything is remaining respectfully, and we're asking our questions in a timely manner. I don't want a whole lot of statements up here and questions, so we can move forward and get all of our answers, all our questions answered. And once again, if you have any questions, if you want to ask them at any point, raise your hand, and then I will come around with the microphone and let you speak. If not, if you want to do it yourself, you can go to the back and write it down on Notepad, and I will read it also at the end. Again, I'm the Osage County GOP chair, and I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Mike. Is it so?
Good evening, everyone. Now, if I talk too loudly, let me know. I'm a trial lawyer and I have a habit of speaking very loudly. My sweet wife is here this evening, and she's a court reporter, and she used to always get on me for speaking too loudly. So I'll try not to get too loud, but I'll be loud enough that everyone can hear me. Is everyone okay with this level, or do I need to speak up just a little bit? Joyce, can you hear me back there? Speak up? Okay. Sure. How's this? Okay, all right. If I start to drift, go, okay, and I'll tone it down. So first of all, I want to begin by thanking everyone for being here this evening. I think this is really important in this country today. As you all know, on the national level, there is a narrative of two sides that are very divergent. Two sides that couldn't agree on how many hours are in a day, let alone the important issues in this country. And we shouldn't have that at the local level. We shouldn't have it at the national level. We definitely shouldn't have it at the local level. And I became very concerned when statements started to come out, not necessarily propounding someone's qualifications for a local office, but attacking other candidates, and in some cases attacking people who aren't candidates, like myself. I'm a big boy and I can handle that. I've been the object of issues for many years, most not of my own doing, a few. My wife will tell me I've created myself. But I just think it's important that on the local level, we get to know our candidates, we get to know the issues, and particularly when there are suggestions made that things are not being done correctly, I want to stand up and address those. And I want you all to feel free to ask those questions of me. I'm kind of in a unique situation here because by state law, I am the advising attorney for every elected official in my two county districts. So for Osage and Pawnee counties both, I or my office have our hands in everything. And so I think I'm in a situation where I'm able to address most of your questions this evening, and I will do that to the best of my ability. If you ask a question that I can't answer, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer, but I will be happy to try to find it out. And if you'd like, you can get a card from me at the end of the evening, and you're welcome to call my office, and I will try to get that answer for you. Because I think it's important that our voters understand the issues and that they're well informed. So that's the goal of tonight's meeting, is to make sure that everybody here has the opportunity to ask any question they have about county government. I will do my very best to try to answer those. I know Mr. Upton's here, and he'll try to do the same on behalf of the three candidates. I'm not running for office. Yeah, I have 2 years to go before I run again. But thank you for being here. This means a great deal to me, and I'm thrilled to see the response, to see the people here this evening, and I want you all to feel comfortable enough to ask any questions that you think are appropriate. The only thing I ask is that with regard to everybody in the room, let's be respectful. If we don't agree with each other, that's okay, but let's be respectful, let's be honest, let's be fair, and let's be open-minded. Thank you for being here.
Can you guys hear me okay? Once again, Gary Upton, Undersheriff Osage County. I want to point out that the Undersheriff of Pawnee County wanted to be here as well. He couldn't make it in time. He was in Oklahoma City on some legislature, but he wanted to weigh in on the matter as well from a different perspective. I don't have any representation here like a lot of other people do, and so I'm just going to go ahead and stick to the prepared statement here. And here we go. Good evening, everyone. First, thank you all for attending tonight's Town Hall Forum. We appreciate your engagement with the civic process and your dedication to understanding the issues that affect Osage County. We would like to start addressing the presence of District Attorney Mike Fisher as the speaker for this event. Let's start by addressing that. It is important to recognize that Mr. Fisher is a named party in pending court cases. Osage County Court Cases 2023-1134 here, and CJ 2023-172, Osage County Sheriff versus Mike Fisher. especially when he is directly involved as a party to those cases. Given this context, it is inappropriate for Mr. Fisher to take part in discussions or debates regarding matters that are sub judice or under judicial consideration. His participation in such debates could potentially compromise the fairness of the legal proceedings and prejudice the case itself. Furthermore, Sheriff Eddie Virden, Mr. Bud Beeston, and Mrs. Robin Slack are also legally counseled parties and or witnesses in the same pending cases. They too have been advised not to engage in public discussion surrounding these cases to avoid any legal ramifications and to uphold the integrity of the judicial process. We must emphasize that this is not an attempt to shy away from public scrutiny or debate. Rather, it is a measure of prudence and respect for the rule of law. Engaging in debate on these subjects at this time would be a foolhardy endeavor that could jeopardize the case and its legal standing. It is worth noting that Mike Fisher, though holding his own office, is not a candidate in the upcoming June 18th election. This debate was scheduled for Mr. Fisher to address what he deems as rumors. However, it is important to clarify that these so-called rumors are actual criminal allegations detailed in this 15-page affidavit that I have here. The forum for tonight should have focused on the candidates and the policies they wish to champion. Instead, the focus has been improperly diverted to matters that are best left within the purview of the courts. In light of these considerations, Eddie Virden, Bud Beeston, and Robin Slack will not be participating in tonight's debate. We believe that this decision is in the best interest of transparency, justice, and the community. We trust the public will understand the necessity of this decision, and we appreciate your ongoing support. Thank you. Thank you. Stand by. Like I said, I have affidavits here. I'm making them available to anyone that wants a copy. You can approach me politely, and I'll give you a copy. Mike Fisher gets the first copy. Anyone else that wants a copy, get a copy. I've also provided a document dump. This page with links that will provide information to include judges' letters that show where they recuse themselves. In my opinion, because they're scared to see this case, so it's getting kicked around. And you'll see the Fisher affidavit and everything else linked in here. And obviously, everything that you want to know, all the questions you want answered, are in this document dump right here. And this affidavit right here.
Yes, a copy of that affidavit.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
I want to ask the first question, I guess, is Robin and Bud listed on that? I didn't see their name. I didn't see their name, so would that mean that they would qualify being here this evening?
I think they said
I didn't see that either. So did you say that if Bud's name is on there and Robin's, can you show me where it is? Okay, so they did not come because they were advised not because their witnesses are actually in the document, is that correct? Okay, so but they're not on there first.
I didn't have anyone tell me.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started since you opened up. Would you like to go ahead and continue? If you'd like to address that.
I find it, yes, sir.
Why is that proper cause affidavit not signed by a judge?
I'm going to address that, thank you. I didn't know this was going to be about me, that wasn't the intent. The intent of this meeting was to talk about false statements that have been made in public forums, particularly Robin Slack and Eddie Virden and Bud Beeston. That's the reason But I want to take this document, and first of all, I appreciate Mr. Upton making the statement he did about what my ethical duties are as an attorney. After 25 years of doing this and 20 years as a prosecutor for the state of Oklahoma, sending thousands of evil people to prison, including hundreds of child molesters and a number of murderers, I have a fairly good idea of what I'm expected to do ethically. So let's work backwards on this for just a moment. He references a case that his sheriff filed against him. Now keep in mind that you can be sued for anything by anyone, okay? There's nothing magical about bringing a lawsuit against someone. Anyone can do that. So this was the petition for damages and motion to vacate confirmation of sale of surplus county property, styled Eddie Virden versus Mike Fisher, CJ 23172. I'm going to just address this very quickly, and then I want to get on to the questions why we're here tonight. The Attorney General's office represents me on that. They notified me a week ago that case is going to be dismissed shortly. The reason it's going to be dismissed is it is nothing more than conclusory statements made by Sheriff Virden against me. There is absolutely no evidence to support it. In fact, a number of the allegations and statements that are included in there are blatant lies. And that's why I was hoping Eddie would be here this evening so I could address those to him face to face. Unfortunately, he is not. He sent his undersheriff.
Can I weigh in on the lies?
Not yet, no, sir. You had an opportunity to speak. Let me speak, and then you're welcome to do whatever you like. So that's the first one. And I've got a copy of this. So anyone who wants to see it, in fact, if you'd like copies, I'm not hiding behind anything. Anyone's welcome to get this. There are a number of allegations in here that are blatantly false. They're just made up. Okay?
Honestly, I guess this is stand above the fray and say what this meeting is about. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear the fact that you have background information on the case being dropped. So let's get to your point on why we're here.
Is that right, how everyone feels that the statements by Mr. Upton? So that's the case. I'll move on.
Let's move on. Move on.
No, I want to hear what's going on, because we have one side of it, and I do want to hear the other side. That's what no, I do want to
We need both sides.
I think it needs to be decided in a court of law. We're not judge. We're not a jury.
Let's settle down. Let's settle down.
So
Okay?
it's that simple.
Let's settle down. All right? We're here to hear both sides, so I'm trying to present those two. He made certain accusations, so I feel like I have a duty to respond. I remained quiet for several years in spite of allegations made by the sheriff against me. So I'm going to take you to the document, and I'm thankful that all of you asked for a copy of that. Mr. Upton provided me with a copy of this affidavit for issuance of arrest warrant. You'll note that the affiant on this is Eddie Virden. You'll also note that there is no signature for a judge. This affiant is worthless. This affidavit, excuse me. The reason it is worthless is because a judge has to sign it, and I know for a fact that Eddie Virden took this to 2 different judges, and both judges said, no, there is no evidence, this does not fit, you cannot file it.
That's not true.
It is. I spoke with the judges, Mr. Upton. Did you talk to them?
I know you spent an hour with them today. I got you, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're going to go back for just a minute. When I was elected in 2019, Rocky Davis ran against Eddie Virden 2 years later. At that time, there was an issue that came up between the sheriff and I. The sheriff was upset with me because I attended Rocky Davis's watch party. The sheriff was telling people that I was not to be trusted, my office was not to be trusted. That causes a problem for Osage County and its citizens. It creates a security risk if the DA and the sheriff cannot work together. So I went in and I sat down with Eddie Virden in his office, and I said, let's clear the air on this. And he told me why he was mad and why he said the things he said. And I said, I'm fine with that, but why didn't you invite me to your watch party? My intent was to go to both. I was not invited to Eddie Virden's watch party. So he said, I don't trust you. And this was alluded to by Mr. Upton. I didn't intend to even bring this up tonight, but since we've gone down that path, in 2018, when I was running for office, certain members of the Osage County Republican Party Committee were stealing signs of mine, and I caught one of them doing it. I approached her about it. I attempted to effect a citizen's arrest. She refused to be arrested, so I followed her. I called the deputies. They came out. They took my signs out of the back of her SUV, did not arrest her, did not charge her with anything because their boss, Eddie Virden, told them not to.
That's ridiculous.
So, sir, I've got witnesses. I've got witnesses to these statements. So let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. Have respect enough to let me make my statements, and you can say your piece. So, shortly thereafter, I find out, and I've got the affidavit here, and I've got 3 eyewitnesses to this, that Eddie Virden, along with my predecessor, who I shortly after this was written beat in an election, went to Eddie's office and prepared a document, an affidavit for my arrest for attempted kidnapping, claiming that my attempt to make a citizen's arrest was an attempted kidnapping. They also, and this is where they stepped over the line, they also issued an affidavit for the arrest of my 13-year-old daughter, who's present here tonight. That, ladies and gentlemen, is way over the line, and I've got the affidavit to prove it, and I've got 3 eyewitnesses, including the man who Eddie Virden told to sign the document, and who, thank goodness, is a good Christian man, said, no, I will not falsify an affidavit. And he walked away from the sheriff's office because of that. So Mr. Upton can say whatever he wants. I actually have the documents. Anyone who wants to see them, you're welcome to come up and I will show them to you. And at the appropriate time, if we need to go to court, I've got witnesses that are prepared to testify to this. Okay?
This is 2019. We're in 2024. I have 2 jobs. I stopped work to come here to listen.
I
I'd like to
appreciate
get
that.
on the point. We don't care what happened to you with the sign back in 2019.
And I remained quiet for 5 years because I told Eddie it doesn't have
Let's go
anyone
to
to
court
do.
then. Go to court.
And I respect your opinion, but I have to say something because he's the one that brought this up.
We're
See,
gonna bring questions in
this
here.
is the problem. This is the problem. The people that are on Mr. Virden's side and Mr. Beeston's side and Ms. Flatt's side, they want to make accusations, but if anybody calls them out on it, they say, get on with it. We don't need to talk about that. Let's not discuss that. Let's talk about what's going on today. They're not doing it. Look at Facebook. They're not doing it.
Mr. Fisher, did you have permission to put your signs in that yard?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Wasn't that clarified when the sheriff or whoever pulled the person over that you would not let leave?
No, no.
But she had permission to put the
Correct.
signs in that yard.
She is
And your
correct.
minor child took the signs out of the yard,
No,
right?
she did not. She put
That's
them
why
in.
your minor
This
daughter.
statement is correct. Okay.
Well, I need clarification on that. I know some people don't, but I want to know your character. I don't know you.
We were told, and I appreciate that, we were told by the real estate agent and the person who was purchasing the house that day, because it was closing that day, that to take those signs out of the yard. We took them, we threw them in the trash right there in the yard. That's not larceny. You can ask Charlie Cartwright or Joe Lucas, they're next to you, they're former deputies. That is not larceny. Larceny is taking property from someone with the intent to deprive them thereof. We didn't take it from the property, okay? And we had permission from both the new owner as well as the real estate agent that was selling the property. What Eddie Virden said was that the person who was selling the property gave permission to Rex Duncan, my opponent, to put them there, okay? But that's neither here nor there with regard to the signs, because at the end of the day, she's still in possession of my signs, which are stolen property, so she's in violation of the law for concealing stolen property. That was my point all along, and Mr. Virden didn't agree with me. Now, all of that aside, and I've got all the documents here, I want to get on to tonight's matters, okay? So, I want to throw this open to questions so that Mr. Upton and I can try to address those as fully as we can. If there's any question, I'm prepared to try to address them as best I can, and if I can, as I said, I will get you an answer, and you're welcome to call my office.
understand the sheriff wants to talk. So Bart went to the sheriff, Eddie Virden's office, and when he got there, and this was all corroborated by many witnesses, so this is the hearsay, that when he walked in Eddie's office, Eddie said, "How would you like to be sheriff, Bart?" And Bart says, "What do you mean?" And Eddie said, "Well, you know, this thing's not really what I thought it was, and I think I'm going to move to Colorado, and I just really don't want to do this, and so what I'd like to, and one of the things that was very interesting in that conversation, that Eddie Virden is the sheriff, and that means he picks his staff, his undersheriff, and everyone else. And what he said to Bart in front of witnesses was, "Bart Perrier, there is no one that I know that is better qualified to be sheriff in Osage County than you, Bart Perrier." And he offered the job to Bart and said there was no one else. Now, Eddie could have picked anybody in his own sheriff's office, but he sidestepped all of them, sought Bart, that Bart did not come to him. So here's what I want to know here. When Eddie was asked that question in the forum, his only response was, "You know, Bart, I haven't said anything negative about that." This thing that Bart asked was not negative. He just asked a question. "Eddie, did you not want to quit as sheriff? And did you not say to me that there was no one that you knew that was better qualified to be sheriff than me?" And Eddie would not answer it. So Bart asked him again. Eddie refused to answer it. So what I'm asking you, unfortunately, you probably don't have the answer, Gary, because you weren't there. And for whatever reason, the other candidates are not here, and I'm not going to dispute why they're here or not here. I'm not going to get into that. But it's very unfortunate when comments are made and then there's an opportunity presented for us to try to just find the facts out. Now, if Eddie were to be here, and if he were to say, "No, I didn't offer that to Bart," or whatever, I'm not going to dispute it. We have witnesses. But when someone that is running against a candidate has said that that candidate is the most qualified person he knows to hold that position, I just wish we could get an answer on that. So can you help me with that, Gary, at all?
That was an editorial, really a question. So
It was no more of an editorial than that you had when you first stood up.
I was not here in 2017. That is a cool story. I don't know anything about what I passed it for sure. Now,
But she's already been asked several times about.
Correct. Yeah. He stroked with me a lot too on hard days. Hey, ready for this job? No, I'm not. I quit 3 times in my head today already as well. This joke. Okay? That's probably how I approached Bart because they were friends at the time. I do not know. At any rate, in regards to social media, I don't like it. I don't like Facebook. I don't like all this stuff. And on both sides of the fence, you've got your people, you've got rein in, obviously. As far as Facebook goes, all I saw on Facebook was put up and shut up. I'm here to tell you tonight, hear me today and believe me tomorrow, that's exactly what we did with this document down here. What you're going to see in this document is judges' letters that do not say this case has no merit. They say they don't want to touch it, and they want to recuse themselves, and they kick it down the road to the next judge. That's why there's multiple letters in here. I'm telling you, I ask all of you to read that document, prayerfully consider a petition for a grand jury. I would say a multi-county grand jury and include Pawnee County in it as well. I'm upset that the Undersheriff of Pawnee County couldn't be here. You got 2 counties that can't work with this DA very well.
So, Gary, what you're saying to me, would you then commit?
And to talk about that as a worthless document because it's not signed.
I thought we weren't talking about Mr. Fisher.
That document is moved around the judge's desk. Right?
Would you commit to me tonight, Gary, that you will have Eddie Virden answer the question that Bart asked twice at the phone?
You'll have to get with Eddie on that.
How can we? He wants to answer.
You can call me. You have his phone number.
No, I want him to call. He needs to answer.
He's given his phone number to everyone.
I got his phone number. He needs to answer it in front of the phone.
What is this with Eddie It has nothing to do with what they call this meeting for. Nothing.
Oh, no, I was not going to comment on that editorial document.
That's not an editorial, Gary, it's the truth.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on now. I would like to ask.
I have one other question. To
I'm
me,
not calling on you yet. If you'd like to have a seat, or you can stand, but that's fine. But I'm not calling on you just yet. I'm sorry. Would you like to come front? If you state your name.
My name is Jerry Butterfly. I live over near Walston, about 45 miles away. And I know I'm going to disappoint you. I am a registered Democrat, which means I don't have to vote this year in the county election, because it will be decided in the Republican primary. Among other things I do is I'm president of the Osage County Historical Society, and a couple of weeks ago we honored Ronald Wallace. We also honored Reverend Dale Nielsen from Shiku. I'm very pleased with this guy who showed up, marvelous career. The second thing is I'm a gadfly. I retired 10 years ago in August. I will celebrate 55 years of marriage. And since I retired 10 years ago, I've attended all the county commissioners' meetings. I see the Bartlesville radio here, maybe there's no press report. And I try to raise the question, there's some big things facing the county. And so, you've got Anthony Hudson back there running for District 1 up in Augusta. You've got Charlie over here who's the commissioner of District 3. And of course, this is District 2 down here. The candidates I came will bring up some big questions. I'm not in the conversation at all that you've been having with Mike or with Upton. I'm disappointed with the county clerk. We wish she was here to respond. I've gone public with my criticism. And so I want to tell you, I want to share with you what those criticisms are and how it hurts us. And then I need to get to some big goals. Shortly after she took office, she, on the advice of counsel, supposedly, of nice people, she stopped something that had been going on for 120 years since we became state. It used to be that you or I could walk up to the land office, which is under the county clerk, and we would fill out a quitclaim deed if we were turning it over to somebody, the property. And the county clerk's employees would go. And Robin stopped that. I brought it up in a Board of County Commissioners meeting and said, why don't you set a computer out in the island and do it like the home city does, where citizens can immediately pull it out and no. And the response was no. We had that debate for about 6 months. probably don't even know what's happening because she eliminated the communication with you. You have one choice to find out, and that's to sign on to the county treasurer's website below. The county treasurer is Robin's mother, Sally Halsey. She does a great job. Beautiful. So, Robin twice here has voted against the citizens, has been vindictive in the process. And that hurts. The second part was big numbers. There's two big numbers here. One of them is that the annex program, the courthouse improvements. There really ought to be something down there in Skype. There isn't. But that has been going on as a discussion for 15 years. And people lost the last election. It was around $20 million. So the groups that met and went around, tried to pull it down to 17 million. It's now been pulled down to 10.5 million. Mike is concerned that the safety side of it, because of the legalities of it and the fact that the county itself cannot write a bond correctly. It has to go through the Osage County Industrial Authority Board. And as of about a week ago, I'm now the chairman of that board. It started out to be a very low interest rate, around 2%. Around 2%. Around 2%. Robin delayed our monthly bill on bonds for $10 million was going to be about $46,000 a month. It was going to be the bond payment. Because of her delay and issues with the audit, we didn't get it until these higher interest rates were in effect. Our monthly bond payment is now $61,000 a month. And you say to yourself, that's a $15,000 a month difference. That's $180,000 a year. 10 years, that's $1.8 million. That's the effect of what Robin did. So I'll wind this up and pose the question. Mike, do you want to speak to how we got here?
Everybody hear me? I think at this point we're starting to drift away from our purpose of this meeting, and I appreciate Mr. Butterwell's comments, I really do. There were some concerns about the way the county clerk delayed that process. It did end up costing the county significantly more money after the bond repayment schedule. One of the things that Ms. Slack alleged to the sheriff's court about a month ago was that she was never provided with a copy of the bond repayment schedule. I actually have the documents up here to show otherwise. Now, I've only got about 20 copies of it, so I apologize for that. So if any of you after the meeting would like to have those, you're welcome to have them. But I confirmed the way the process works is when bonds are issued for a project, they're usually assigned to a public trust. In this case, they were assigned to the Osage County Industrial Authority because that authority is allowed to contract beyond the fiscal year, which is a statutory limitation for government agencies in the state of Oklahoma. So there has to be an audit that's done by the state auditor's office anytime a long-term bond is issued. And so when that bond was prepared and was trying to get it issued, the state auditor's office was doing an audit of that. It's a fairly routine audit. And it seemed to be taking longer than I thought it should. So I contacted the city, Cindy Virden. She is our state auditor, very nice woman, and asked for her assistance. And she told me that the reason it hadn't been done yet is she had not received documentation from the Osage County Clerk. And so I reached out through my assistant DA and asked her to help facilitate that, to see if we could get that process moving. It took a couple more months before this document was finally turned over by Robin Slack to Cindy Bird's office. As a consequence of that, we're looking at approximately $1 million, just a little over that, in additional fees that we're having to pay because of that delay. And that's all matters of record. The state auditor's office can confirm that. This is an attempt by me to pile on to Robin Slack. I'm simply telling you what I heard from the state auditor's office. I will tell you the reason this meeting is assistance of my predecessor, Rex Duncan, they sold the property. The problem was the property was sold illegally. And so when that happened, we had no choice but to go back and say, we can't close this sale. It's not a legal sale. I can't advise my clients to proceed on an illegal action. So I advised the county commissioners that we could not do that. It would have to be addressed. It went to court. The judges in Osage County recused on the case. It went to a judge in Hays County, I believe, by the name of Sean Taylor. I also have those documents here as well. Of course, I only have 20 of those also. But Judge Mays heard this case, and we filed a motion to dismiss on behalf of Osage County. And we argued that because it was an illegal sale, we couldn't tender the property, and because we couldn't tender the property, that we were not guilty of breach of contract. The judge agreed with that. He said, you're right, you can't sell the property. It didn't fulfill the requirements of the statute. So we couldn't sell the Canton building from that previous sale. So now we had a bad situation on our hands because we had taken earnest money, and there was money that had been put back for the settlement and sale of that building that we couldn't proceed on. So the judge told us at that time the money would need to be returned to the original successful bidder on that, and it was. And then the judge told us in the order, unfortunately, that we're still subject to a breach of contract suit. That's where the problem comes in, because a breach of contract suit, for those of you who know the law, had they been successful in that, and in all likelihood would have been, then we would have not only lost the building, we would have also lost the trouble damages for the loss of the building and the money that was put out by the original successful bidder, plus we would have had to pay attorney's fees. So the commissioners made the decision at that time to go ahead and settle the matter. It went through a mediator, state mediator, Max Meyer. I can't go into specific details because statutes do not allow me to address the specifics of mediation. What I can tell you is that he came up with a proposal that the other side was very happy with and we weren't. And we expressed that to him, and his response to us was they won't accept anything else. So we had one of the commissioners there, Darren McKinney, and myself, my assistant, and Mr. McKinney spoke for about 20 minutes. We then called up each of the other individual commissioners and said, here's the deal. We don't like it, but at the end of the day, if we do this, the county will get all of the money that was originally bid on the building. So we were going to get the exact amount that was originally bid. And if we weren't going to have to pay their attorney's fees, and there wasn't going to be a breach of contract suit. So the decision was made by the commissioners, and I think it was correct to go ahead and settle it, get the money out of it that was originally supposed to be paid to the county, and then let the original bidder have the building. So that's what happened. Now, unfortunately, these are the plans we suggest, and we got citizens input. And so after the 18 months, we took it to the county commissioners and said, we think this will work. And if you all want to put this up to a vote, this is what we recommend. We believe that there may be support among the voters. So at that time, it just so happened that we had change in our county commissioners. 2 or 3 county commissioners changed. And we had Kevin Pasley come in, and we had, I think that was in Darren opinion. I apologize, I'm not positive on that. But regardless, we had 2 new commissioners, no, it was Randy Jones, who came in, and when they came in, they didn't want to go to the voters with a tax proposal, obviously. I mean, they're just fresh in office, and they didn't want to burden their constituents with a new tax. So they made the decision not to present that. As a result, there was only 1 election. There weren't 2, as Robin Slack suggested. There was only 1. And that documentation is available. It's a public record. So what we're seeing here are things that are being thrown out, I believe, to try to influence an election. And I think it's unfortunate because when that information gets out, people a lot of times will just assume that because it's been told to them and it's somebody that they like, or somebody they know, or somebody who's in an elected position, they must be telling us the truth. And the reality is that a lot of these statements that have been made by Robin Slack and Bud Houston and Eddie Virden are simply not accurate. And that's why I wanted to have this evening. Now, I can read Robin's statement if you'd like. I know Mr. Upton said there was nothing on Facebook about the annex, but in fact, Robin actually reproduced her statement. Yes, sir.
So I want to say something. So thank you for getting to this. This was my point. My point was that I didn't come here for organic, right? My point was this is what I want to hear. What you're telling us is what I want to know. The response to these things in this way. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to make sure I put that out there because I don't want to hear like why you guys are crazy. Objectivity is important to me, and this is what we need to hear.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's my goal. Okay, I mean, everybody knows I've not been private about who I support in this upcoming election. I've been pretty open and obvious about it. But my dad, bless his heart, my dad's 91 years old, and my mom's 86. I'm one of the few 66-year-olds in the world that still has both of his parents alive. I thank God every day for that. But my dad always taught me, you know, if you're willing to say something about someone, be willing to say it to their face. And I've always appreciated that about him because I don't like people that say one thing to me and then say something behind my back.
Where does this animosity come from? Because there could be animosity.
Sure.
You know, between parties. So, you know, I know there's some accusations being made and that, but there's got to be some reason besides the election, you know, for these accusations. You know what I mean? So there's animosity built up clearly between everyone that we're speaking about.
I wish Gary Upton had left because I love his insight into this. I've been asked that a number of times. I honestly can't tell you why the sheriff has a problem with me. The only thing I can point to is that he and Rex Duncan, who I ran against, were very close friends. And perhaps that has something to do with it. I don't know. I tried to talk to Eddie. I suggested to Eddie that, you know, this isn't doing the county any good. Let's stop it. Let's start working together. Many of you may have seen the press conference I held with regard to the Cynthia Dawn Kenny matter and alleged BTK involvement. I didn't do that to attack Eddie Virden. If you go back and watch that, you'll see that I clearly didn't. That wasn't my intent. What I was trying to do, I had met with the elderly parents of Cynthia Dawn Kenny. They're both in their 80s and they're very frail. And I had, the chief of police of Skyfield reached out to me and said, they're having a tough time, and it might not be a bad idea for you to speak with them. And so I said, I'm happy to do that if they want to talk to me. So I did. I met with them for about 2.5 hours with the chief of police I will tell you, I did ask the OSBI to do that investigation. It is still ongoing. The whole case team is still working. They did reach out to me about a month ago, and they told me that they had determined there was no connection or relationship between Dennis Rader and the disappearance of Cynthia Dawn King. That will never come out to the public, and the reason it won't is because I was the one that made that request for the investigation. So by OSBI rules, they can't share that with anyone except the requester. And so they reached out to me and they told me that's what their investigation showed. So at that point, I reached out to the son of Kenny, told them what we had learned. He shared that with his parents, and I'm hopeful that that's going to provide them with some peace and comfort. But I want to answer some more questions if I can, sir. If you all have questions, please let me know. I'll try to do that as best I can.
I had a question that was submitted on that.
Sure.
It was about the video that got online. It was when they were doing the second, the auction that they were doing.
Yes.
So can you explain what happened in that, and because there was a lot of confusion even in that video, what came from that, and why
Sure.
was there only the one bidder? What came from
Sure. What I'm going to do is make sure I don't get this wrong. I'm going to read the order from, and it's very short. I'm going to read the order from Judge, I forgot his name already, I apologize. From Judge Taylor, Sean Taylor of Dade County. This is the order, and this was filed in the court record on October 11th of 2022. It says, be it remembered on the 20th day of September 2022, this matter comes before the court upon the joint motion of plaintiff and defendant for this court to enter an order reflecting the agreement of the parties for the sale of real estate, release of earnest money, and from other orders pertinent thereto. The court finds the request to be sustained. It is therefore ordered the judge to decree the holder of the earnest money, Century 21, its successors and signed are hereby ordered and authorized to release and disperse the earnest money to its public record. I'm just going to say his name, Jay Mitchell, currently being held under the real estate contract dated August 16, 2017, in the amount of $11,600. It is further ordered the judge to decree the defendant, Osage County Board of Commissioners, hereinafter Osage County shall sell the real estate located at 550 Kennebec Avenue and provides a legal description, hereinafter Kennedy. It is further ordered the judge to decree the sale shall be conducted in accordance and comply with the provisions of, and it's a statutory reference, the sale shall be in public auction to the highest bidder for cash after the Board of County Commissioners in regular or special session adopts a resolution declaring the real estate is not needed for courthouse or jail purposes of the county. The resolution to be published with other proceedings to the board, and two, a copy of the resolution shall be certified by the county clerk to the judge of the Osage County District Court. Three, the judge shall appoint freeholders. Four, the appraiser shall be returned to the commissioners. Five, upon the return of the appraisement, the commissioner shall give notice by publication in the newspaper of general publication for 2 consecutive weeks. And then we get to the crux of it. If Kenny's building is not sold for a sum of less than $232,000 is the highest bid, Osage County shall resell until the sale is final. It is further ordered the judge to decree that Osage County shall receive the sum of $232,000 from the sale proceeds. That was the original amount that was bid, and that was the contract that was entered into back in 2017 that led to this lawsuit by Mr. Mitchell against the county. It was an illegal sale, as I said, and we had to go back to the record. So the judge says it is further ordered the judge to decree all the expenses of the sale of the Kennedy building shall be borne solely by Osage County. Further ordered the judge to decree Osage County shall maintain the Kennedy building in its current condition, regular wear and tear accepted. It is further ordered the judge to decree Osage County shall maintain a policy of insurance in the Kennedy building until the property has been transferred to the new owner by deed. And then it concludes by saying, further order the judge to decree each party shall be responsible for the respective attorney's fees and costs. So we had this order that had been handed down by Judge Sean Taylor that said we had to resell the building. And it said that we had to go by auction. And it also provided in there, I'm going to try to simplify that just a little bit, and this is why we didn't like it. Truthfully, my office didn't like it, and neither did the county commission. But what the order said essentially is that the first $232,000 of the new successful bid will go to Osage County. That way, Osage County gets back the entire amount that was originally bid by Jay Mitchell, which was successful there in 2017. So essentially, it returned prior position. Then it said that the building will then be sold by auction, and this is the part that we didn't like. The mediator recommended, and the judge ordered that anything over $232,000 would go to J. Mitchell. So let's say, for instance, let's say Mike Fisher had bid on it and I bid $500,000. I would have gotten the building for $500,000. Osage County would have gotten $232,000, and the remaining $268,000 would have gone to J. Mitchell. Okay? So he stood to make a lot of money. The consequence, the real consequence of that is that he could essentially bid as much as he wanted, because at the end of the day, he could get the building, and he wouldn't have to pay the extra because it was all going to go to him over $232,000. That's what he didn't want. And the only reason commissioners chose to settle was because they didn't want to lose the building and the money and possibly trouble damages and attorneys. So we could have, the county could have ended up losing $1 million plus. And so that's the reason that they chose to do it. Forward. Sorry.
And we have a question, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. You specifically asked about the auction. I was leading on that. The second video, it shows there was somebody in the room. Because I had to be present. I'm required by state law to be present when those type of sales take place. So I was present, and somebody asked me, have any of the bidders today had any agreement with the county for the sale of that building? And I said no. And of course, that can't be, because if the county as a seller and a bidder as a potential buyer had an agreement, that would be collusion, and that's against the law. So there was no agreement with anything. So when you hear these statements about bidders, it's completely inaccurate. In fact, it was just the opposite. We didn't like what was being done. We didn't have any choice because we were under court order to an agreement that we weren't crazy about, but it was going to cut. It was going to prevent us from losing more money. So that was with regard to that. That's what that question was probably about. I'm sorry.
You go ahead. I don't know if I'm gonna need this microphone or not. Can anybody hear me? Y'all hear me pretty good? I don't use this thing because I probably talk too loud. My name is Dan Hyde. I was a deputy sheriff in Pawnee County for about 3 years. I worked for Charlie Cartwright over there. He was a good man. He still is. Sometimes we disagree. I double guarantee I request Larry Stewart. I come over to Osage County as deputy sheriff. I had the privilege of working with Bart Perry. He's a good man. He is really confident in his work. The thing of it is a voter. I am a voter. I don't work in the sheriff's department no more. I don't work in the law enforcement field anymore. I retired 5 years ago from the tribal police department after 15 years. But I have somebody to represent me. If he's sheriff of Osage County, he needs to be in function so I can hear him, so I can see him. I can see what he acts like. I can see how he walks, how he talks. Eddie Virden's not here. Mark Perry is. He needs to show up in every one of these functions. Because I had an undersheriff throw me off and threw down there one night. And I told him, I said, people in there want to talk to you. He said, you talk to him. I wasn't the undersheriff. I wasn't the sheriff.
we've seen a huge uptick in our use tax revenue. It's gone up significantly, and it continues to go up. And what we find when you track that money is that that money comes from out-of-county residents. It comes from a lot of times out-of-state residents, people who are like her, and they want her products, and so they purchase them online and they pay a tax. That's the use tax. So this bond, I think, is an ideal situation because what we've got is we're building an ant. It needed to be done because if you've ever been to a husband and tried to get the county work done, you literally go all over town in order to do everything. My office is about half mile away from the courthouse. And this annex is going to bring everything together in one central location. So it's going to be a benefit to the entire county, and it will be a benefit to the employees, quite frankly. But it's a great deal for Osage County because the vast majority of the money that's going to be used to pay for that annex comes from out-of-county and out-of-state tax, from people who don't live here. So it couldn't be a better situation for the county. So that's something that Ms. Slack didn't mention at the sheriff's board, and I think it's important for people to know that because a lot of folks don't.
Is there another question?
Where was the use tax appropriated before it was going to be appropriated for annex? Like, where was that money going to? Because obviously it's not going to go to those things now, it's going to go to this annex. And that's $10.5 million over our knowledge.
Sure. And the way it's always worked is the use tax is put in a separate fund. We have a couple of county commissioners here. We have a prior county commissioner. They might be better able to answer this than I am. I went to law school, so I'm not real good at math. But I can tell you that there's a separate account for use tax. And the way they have typically done that in the past is they draw a percentage of that to use for roads and bridges. We didn't touch that part. So that money can carry over from year to year to year. And so what they did is they left money in there so they could continue to do the projects they've always done for roads and bridges for the citizens in Osage County. And then they took some money that typically just goes into this fund and is carried over to the next year, the year after that, the year after that, and they're applying for this annex so they can get it built. It's funny, as I mentioned earlier, that for some reason, I've been accused of somehow spearheading this. I can promise you I haven't done that. The reason I think that my name got associated with this and connected to this is when we had COVID, there was ARPA money that came in, and that money came from the federal government. It was offered to different government agencies throughout the United States to be used for certain specific purposes. And so I suggested at one of the meetings of the Board of County Commissioners, I said, why don't we use our ARPA money, which at the time was about $11.2 million, I think. If the commissioners know a different figure, let me know, but I think 11.4.
How much is the ARPA money?
How much was the ARPA money originally? Do you remember? It's not very quite.
The ARPA money designated to the courthouse is $4 million. I don't know what the initial was.
Okay, yeah, he's talking about it, that ARPA money is being used now. Originally, I think the number was about $11.2 million. I suggested maybe we could use the ARPA money for the annex, because it's something that's been needed for a long time. The commissioners tossed that around, decided not to do it, and then Jeff Brady, who is a bond attorney out of Oklahoma City, whose firm is the largest in the state to do bond projects. They do them all over the state. Suggested that we could do a bond project in Osage County, use a portion of the use tax fund, not touch any of the money that's needed for roads and bridges and improvements, and still build the courthouse, or the annex, excuse me. And so then that came back for a vote later on. I didn't have to do it at that point, but it came back later on and was approved. Early on, Robin Slack and Eddie Virden both supported that. And then at some point they changed their mind. You'd have to ask them why. I don't know why they changed their mind, but originally they were actually on record as saying they were in favor of that. And actually had employees from their offices come And I really think probably one of the commissioners is better able to address that. Steve, do you want to be corrected that, or Dr. Mike? I think. Yeah, sorry. Steve's a little hard of hearing, so we teach him about that all the time.
Just how the money is allocated for the road. The state has a fuel tax, and it is divided up to the county by population of road miles. Once it gets to our county has 3 districts, and we are, our districts are a population, they're set up by population within 5%. When the money comes into our county, then it's split up again 3 ways by road mile. And the road miles are determined by each district. And I think District 1 has 960 road miles. And we've got 230, I think, down here, just around 510 there. So the money divided up by road miles. We get 17.7% here in District 2. District 1 gets 51%. District 3 gets 30%. But that's how it's between the districts. It just comes in from the fuel tax, property tax, to go to primarily the school. The fuel tax is what funds our districts. And everything that we do in our district, employees, fuel, equipment, everything comes out of that money that we get. And it can only be used for the road.
If I could just follow up on that, the reality is that Osage County is the largest county in the state of Oklahoma area-wise. And we could use a lot more than what we get from the state, but we're limited to that. And there are statutes that are very specific about what type of tax can be used for what type of project within the county. A lot of people get confused about ad valorem tax. Well, ad valorem tax is for schools. So the statutes earmark how those taxes are being used. And so the fuel tax is what is typically used on the roads. And it has to be done by road miles, unfortunately. It would be nice if the population, I think District 1 would be nice, because we have a significant population there. But the reality is, they've got a lot more roads that they have to maintain in every district. And so the commissioners talk about that almost every single year. They discuss whether they need to change the formula. Sometimes it's modified a little bit. Sometimes it's kept the way it is. But there's always discussion almost every year in the public forum about how to allocate those monies.
I only like to say one more thing. Most commissioners I did, most commissioners before me, all the way back to Scotty Hilton. When you come in to this job, the first thing you think is the money is way lopsided. And see that we get 17.7% down here in District 2, it seems like that District 1, District 3 should get the money. But I found, through my time as a commissioner, I found that it doesn't work. Because it would be as devastating to District 1 or District 3 to give up some of their money to our district as it would be for me to give my money up to them. Just because they have more road miles, they have more employees, they have more equipment, there's all kinds of things that factor into that. And I didn't want you guys leaving here tonight thinking, well, they didn't give
that's quite a challenge. So the net effect is that down here in District 2, the more people you add, the smaller the district becomes. And the opposite happens up in District 1, which stretches literally from Bartlesville all the way to Palm City, north of 60. And this last time, because it was losing people, it had to drop down along the Arkansas River and pick up part of District 3. So that's the challenge. You guys are growing, and it shrinks, and he loses miles in the process.
Do we have any more questions about the annex of the Kennedy building or anything like that? I know I have one question. You kind of brought it up at what came in before the meeting this evening. Is to describe the bid rigging and explain that a little bit more in detail because there seems to be some confusion.
Sure. If you look at Black's Law Dictionary, essentially the definition of bid rigging is where two potential bidders on a project get together and they agree to try to artificially set a price for selling or buying a property. In other words, I'll let you buy it at this price, but I'll bid it up to so much. That's bid rigging. What Robin Slack has suggested is actually collusion, and it's not collusion because, as I said in that video, if people listen to that second video that Ms. Myers referred to, I specifically asked, did the county have some sort of agreement with one of the bidders to obtain the property? And I said, no, they don't. We couldn't do that. That would be collusion. So I think Robin and quite truthfully, Bud Eastman are probably confused by that because they're using bid rigging in a appropriate way. That's not the legal definition of bid rigging. There was nothing illegal or untoward with regard to the Kennedy building. Yes, sir.
Might be a little slow. Well, my wife will tell you that. But as you described it, this is the first time I've heard how that whole building. As you described it, I couldn't help but sit there and think, that, yeah, two things. The first one is that, the original bidder gets all the money if he gets overbid, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, that's a great situation for me to be in if I'm the original buyer. Because if the property was more desirable, I could shill that bid. You know what shilling is, right? That's part of bid rigging. I could shill that bid because I can get that building up to $1 million and I'm not paying more than $232,000. Meanwhile, the other person, I stand to profit. That, to me, is where it gets a little concerning. Now, I don't know about the legality of it or whatever. And on the other side of it, wouldn't that deal you said was mediated, in which that would have to go and then he would get the money? Wouldn't that be considered a deal between the county and that one buyer?
No, sir, it's not. It was handled by a state certified mediator who recommended that proposal. We told him we didn't like it. We were told that Mr. Mitchell would not consider anything else. So the option for the commissioners at the time was to either go ahead and agree to that, right, and then operate in a court order, or say no, and then run.
So they agree, which is a deal. So that deal is with. I'm just trying to talk to you like, so I can understand it. So in that case, legally speaking, are you saying that that agreement is with the mediator and the state mediator and not with the other party? Because the whole idea of mediation is to bring people together.
The mediation in this case reached an agreement that both sides said they would do for different reasons. As you suggested, Mr. Mitchell did it because he had nothing to lose. He was holding all the cards. The county was backed into a corner because we had no legal sale. We were going to lose a breach of contract lawsuit. We knew that.
So there's an agreement under duress. There's an agreement. There's an agreement with it. And I'm not trying to...
No, if you want to call it duress, I don't disagree with it. But at some point, the county has to decide what's best for the county commissioners. And what they did in this case is they said, we don't want to run the risk of losing potentially $1 million plus the building plus paying attorney's fees. And so the decision was made to go ahead and accept the recommendation of the mediator, and then we run a court order to conduct the auction.
They just seem inclined.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all, and I don't think there was a single want us to go down that way. But once Judge Taylor came down with that ruling, and I have a copy of that also, I've got 20 copies here. Once he came down with that ruling and said the county is still subject to the breach of contract suit, we knew we couldn't. Because we knew at that point that we were going to lose the breach of contract, and we were going to lose a whole lot more money. And instead, by agreeing to this, we got the original $238,000, and we got rid of the building, which quite frankly was costing the county quite a bit of money trying to keep.
We do have a second option. If you could clarify, when you have a second option, was it just a coincidence that were there other bidders? Because if another bidder came in, they bid it up, you still lose the money, so was it blocked? Or is that what I'm hearing, that people weren't allowed to bid? Or was it just by chance no one else bidding? Or how did that come about where there was only one bidder?
Sure, I think that's a fair
I'm
question.
just curious.
I think that's a fair question. We did it in a public setting. We did it just inside the Kennedy building. We invited people in. We had an auctioneer there. He had a sign-up sheet, and he asked everybody who was interested in bidding to sign up on the sign-up sheets. I don't recall, but I'm about 99% certain Jay Mitchell was the only one that listed that he was going to bid, and he did. So, what we were concerned about having happen, because we were worried that that's what was going to occur, that there would be a bidder. But as this gentleman suggested, I think other people understood. If you're talking about $1 million, you obviously got some money, and you probably got some smart stuff, and you probably understand that the way that was set up, even if I bid $1.5 million, Jay Mitchell's going to bid $1,500,001, because he is ultimately going to get it. He's going to get the building. He's only going to be out $232,000. That's what we didn't like about the deal. So the most common thing I can make this, the thing that's most analogous, and you see this a lot in the news, that somebody will say that they settled a lawsuit because they didn't want to run the risk. In fact, I think President Trump even one time settled a lawsuit because he didn't want to run the risk of losing the lawsuit. And at some point, you kind of have to weigh those things when you're in a lawsuit. And I didn't like it, the commissioners didn't like it, my assistant didn't like it, but we decided to go, I haven't voted, the commissioners decided that that was in the best interest of the county to do that. So we essentially came out with $232,000 originally and no charges. So it was as if, that was it, the whole process had never taken place. He got the building, the county got the money that was originally supposed to go to them, and nobody paid any charges.
What's being done with the building now? Is it just sitting there empty?
Unfortunately, it's sitting there, and that's one of the problems, and I don't mind, I wish Mr. Mitchell was here because I tell him to his face. One of the reasons that people are concerned about Mr. Mitchell purchasing buildings is he buys them and it just sits on them, and nothing ever happens to them.
To get a tax write-off for us?
I don't know, I'm sorry, we'd have to ask him that. But he's got a number of buildings, not only in Alaska, but he's got buildings throughout the county and throughout the state, and also in California, I believe. And his reputation is just to buy those buildings and sit on them. I don't know why he does that. It doesn't make any sense to me, but again, I went to law school, I'm not a finance person, so.
Did that answer your question? Is there any other questions about the annex or anything else that you would like to ask? I do have one that was written down here. It says that I heard you won't prosecute the unsolved case for the Sheriff Virden. Why not?
deserves everything he gets. I wish he could prosecute in Oklahoma City if he could today. But it didn't happen. In Kansas, and they don't have to do that. But the reality is that we don't have the evidence. The investigation that the sheriff has done is completely inadequate. And I mean completely inadequate. I have talked to numerous law enforcement agencies about this. I had the director of the Kansas Bureau of Investigation call me up and say, there's nothing there. I had the man who in 2004 was the lead investigator for the Wichita Police Department on Dennis Rader when he was arrested for the very first murder. He said, Mike, there's no evidence. Your sheriff doesn't have anything. It flies in the face of the evidence that we have. We have no connection whatsoever between Dennis Rader and Cynthia Dawn Kenny. But I didn't base anything, any of my decisions on that. I based it on the evidence that the sheriff had. And the bottom line is the sheriff didn't have any evidence. I'll give you an example. The word puzzle. Anybody hear about the word puzzle that the sheriff just talked about recently? It came out. Have anybody looked at that closely? Now the sheriff claims that he found the word ID, which is the street the laundromat's on. He said he found the name of Cynthia Dawn Kenny, which is the victim. He said he found, I don't remember what else, I think laundromat, a couple of other things. He found all those things on there. Guess what else was found by a member of the public? The words vote Bart Perry. Seriously, go back and look at it. You can look at it. I looked at it, it took me 35 seconds to find Eddie Virden's name in there. 35 seconds to find it. The reason for it is it didn't have any rules. It didn't say, you've got to go diagonally or vertically or horizontally. And so what he did when he came up with the name Kahita, he went K-I-H-E-K-A-H. Now, when you've got multiple letters in a word puzzle and there are no rules, okay, and there are no words that you're supposed to find, in other words, these are the words you're going to find, you can find anything. I suspect if you look, you can probably find Donald Trump in it. And I would imagine the press would love that. Okay? But the point is, that's not evidence. I can't present that to a jury. I can't say to a jury with a straight face, you have to convict Dennis Rader for this murder, as bad as he is, because these words were found in there. I guarantee you a defense lawyer would get up and do exactly what I just did. And the jury would look at me, they'd pop their heads, they'd look at me, and they'd say, are you serious? That's not justice, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. And so I have to have legal evidence that I can present in a court of law. And I've got a lot of law enforcement people in here, and I can almost guarantee every single one of them understands that. For some reason, our sheriff does not.
Are there any more questions about the Candy building, the annex?
At the second auction for the Candy building, how many people bid on it?
Only one.
Okay. What was the original appraisal for first
property owners within the county, and that the three of them have to come up with appraised value. That's what they came up with. There was no one else involved in that process.
An appraiser or a property owner?
Property owners.
A property owner is an appraiser.
Yes, under statute, they are. That's correct.
Could I insert something here? I was there at the first time. I was there at the very first auction, and I want to describe what happened, and I'll turn it back to Mike as quick as possible. The bidding, nobody knew where it was going to start, and there were appraisals out as low as $130,000, and people were aware of the 80 or 90% that was happening. Pretty soon, all the locals dropped out, except one person, and what I think he was on the phone. And frankly, I don't know whether that was Ladd or Tim Drummond, Reed's husband. The other person on the phone was Mitchell in California. And everybody in Nebraska wanted the downtown to be developed. Reed Drummond was doing good things. There were discussions about Killers of the Flower Moon book coming out, not the movie. And they were all aware of the old hotel in Nobody. To this day, Mitchell still owns that old hotel. Nothing's been done with it. Mitchell makes his money by supplying props and costumes for movies. So he was aware of this area, and he was working with a local guy in Boston at the same time. Now, Boston had a problem. Ladd, or Mr. Drummond, in his bidding, started to slow up. The time was starting to get hesitant. Whenever he would bid, Mitchell came back quickly. So this is the first auction. First auction. As what you would guess happened, there came a moment where Mr. Drummond's bids are very slow, Mitchell's immediate, finally Mr. Drummond did not bid. Now the city of Alaska had a huge problem. This problem doesn't turn out well. They had just lost this building to a guy in California who said that he would develop it, but his development program was to take it back to the original design. But he hadn't done any buildings in this area. He'd been sitting on Nowata a long time. So the sale was then examined. And there, very candidly, was pressure on the commission, a different group of commissioners, and the city people did not want the first sale to go through because they didn't want this building to sit there undeveloped. So as they examined the sale, what they found was that the property had not been, quote, surplus. So the county was in a position that they had to surplus this property before it could be approved for sale. And that's where the sale fell through. Well, the guy in California, Mitchell, he wants specific performance of the contract. Sell it to me, I need an honest bid. And that's what the court action is. I'm not an attorney.
I am a realtor, and appraisers are appraisers, state certified. Three human beings that own land are not an appraiser. That is not a true appraisal. That is a different appraisal than what the very classy appraisal we spoke
sure I'll be forgetting this one.
Okay, well, I actually have one last question that was asked for us, and they're wanting to know if, with everything that you've had going on with Eddie and with Robin and Bud, if you would shake hands and let everything go under the bridge. The last question.
Would I shake hands? Yes. Would I let it go under the bridge? I'm not sure what they mean by that. Here's the bottom line of Palm City High School. I'm from this part of the state. I've lived here most of my life. I love this county. That's the bottom line. I love this county. And the people that are in this county right now in elected positions, there are 8 of us altogether. The majority of us are really trying to do a good job. We really are. This is political statement, and forgive me, I'm sorry. We care about this county. Everett Piper, he was commissioner, cared about this county. Charlie Cartwright, who was the chief of deputies for years, and an incredible investigator for the sheriff's office, cares about this county. Bart Perry, who's running for office, cares deeply about this county. He's lived here almost his entire life. Steve Talbot, who's a minister and has a church and has cared about this county through the sheriff's office, as an investigator for them, cares about this county. And so when someone asks me, am I willing to surrender this county to people that don't care about it? No. And I will stand and fight, and if that costs me my job, and I'm happy to tell Bud that, as well as Eddie, as well as Rob. I'll tell it to their faces. That's why I'm sorry they're not here. I'll tell it to their faces. They are not good for Osage County. And they do not need to be in positions of power.
I would ask somebody who would like to speak, and then we're closing it out. If you'd like to come up here.
I'm Joe Lucas, I'm a retired deputy sheriff of Osage County. I've been in law enforcement almost 40 years. Majority of it here in Osage County. Mike, good friend of mine. I'll be the first one to say this friend of mine. I've worked under 3 different district attorneys in this county. I came in here with a district attorney that thought assault and battery on a police officer was part of their job. We couldn't get nothing filed in Osage County. I worked under another district attorney that filed everything and wouldn't go through the courts. A pro se defendant beat him in his own court records. Mike, I've got praise from him. I've called him at home. I've called him on his phone. He was in Florida on vacation. Wasn't even district attorney in this county. It was before he was elected. And I asked him a question. I saw it. He was more than happy to answer. So I want to share that for Mike.